You get into bed at a reasonable hour, you close your eyes, and somewhere around 2 or 3 in the morning, you're wide awake, staring at the ceiling, waiting for sleep that never comes back. You've told yourself it's just part of getting older, and that explanation feels true enough that you stopped questioning it. But what's actually waking you up most nights after 50 has very little to do with age, and almost everything to do with habits you repeat every single day without connecting them to your sleep at all. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's disrupting your sleep, why it hits so much harder after 50, and what to change starting tonight. And number 4 on this list is the one that will genuinely catch you off guard, because it's something most people do specifically to help them sleep. Here's what most people over 50 have been told, that lighter sleep is normal, that waking at 3 in the morning is just what happens now, that needing a nap in the afternoon is a sign of getting old. And some of that is partially true. Your sleep architecture does shift after 50. Your body produces less melatonin, your deep sleep stages get shorter, your sleep becomes more sensitive to disruption. But here's what nobody tells you alongside all of that. The habits that were completely harmless at 35 become genuinely disruptive at 55. The same glass of wine, the same late dinner, the same bright overhead lights burning at 9 o'clock at night. Your body used to absorb all of it and still deliver a solid night of sleep. After 50, it can't compensate the way it once did. That's not failure, that's physiology, and the rules changed without anyone telling you. So let's go through what's actually happening and why it matters more right now than it ever did before. The first mistake is one almost nobody connects to their sleep. It's eating dinner late. Not dramatically late, just later than your body now needs. 7:30, 8 o'clock, sometimes closer to 9. For most of your life, that timing was completely fine. Here's what most people miss. After 50, your digestive system slows down considerably. The muscles that move food through your gut become less efficient. Your stomach empties more slowly. And when you lie down with food still actively being digested, your body is running a metabolic process that competes directly with the cooling and slowing your brain needs to enter deep sleep. The core body temperature drop that signals the brain to go deep gets delayed. You fall asleep without much trouble, but you don't go deep and you don't stay there. You surface at 2 or 3 in the morning, and that's when the ceiling staring begins. A gap of 5 to 6 hours between your last meal and your bedtime makes a measurable difference in sleep depth and in how rested you actually feel when you wake up. And it's worth saying clearly, this doesn't mean skipping dinner or eating a sad bowl of crackers at 5 o'clock. It means shifting the meal earlier when you can, keeping it lighter in the evening, and being aware that a heavy plate of food at 8:30 is asking your body to do 2 demanding things at once. It can't do both well. This habit, repeated night after night for years, is one of the most underrated contributors to the fragmented sleep that people over 50 quietly accept as their new normal. But here's where it gets more interesting, because the next one is something almost everyone does in the name of being responsible. The second mistake is keeping irregular sleep and wake times on weekends. During the week, you're up at 6:30. Saturday morning, you sleep until 8 or 9 because you can, and because your body feels like it needs the extra rest. It feels like recovery. Here's where it becomes a real problem after 50. Your circadian rhythm, the internal clock that governs when you feel alert and when you feel sleepy, becomes significantly less flexible with age. When you shift your sleep window by 90 minutes or 2 hours on weekends, you are giving yourself a mild version of jet lag twice a week, every single week. Your body spends Monday and Tuesday recalibrating. By the time it's fully synced again, the weekend arrives and you shift it again. The result is a circadian rhythm that never fully stabilizes and a sleep quality that never fully recovers. The fix is simpler than most people expect. Keep your wake time consistent, even on weekends, even if you went to bed late the night before. Not your bedtime, your wake time. That single anchor point is what the rest of your sleep schedule organizes itself around. Shift it and everything drifts. It feels like a small thing on a Saturday morning. Over months, it is one of the most significant changes you can make. Now, before we get to number 3, and this is the one that surprised me most when I looked into it, I want to make sure you understand something. These mistakes don't just make you tired. After 50, chronically disrupted sleep is directly connected to cardiovascular health, blood sugar regulation, and memory. This isn't about feeling groggy. The stakes are higher than that. The third mistake is one that sounds almost too simple to matter. It's light exposure in the evening, specifically the overhead lights that most homes run at full brightness all the way up until bedtime. Here's what's actually happening inside the body. Your brain uses light as its primary signal for time of day. In the evening, as natural light fades, a part of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus begins releasing melatonin to prepare the body for sleep. But bright overhead lighting, the kind in most living rooms and kitchens, reads to the brain as daylight. It suppresses melatonin production at exactly the moment your body should be ramping it up. After 50, when your baseline melatonin production is already lower than it was at 30, this suppression hits harder. You feel less sleepy at bedtime than you should. You lie down before your body is actually ready, and then you wonder why sleep won't come. Dimming your lights after 8 p.m., even just switching to one lamp instead of the overhead, begins shifting your body towards sleep before you ever get into bed. Warm-toned bulbs make a difference too. The cooler and brighter the light, the stronger the signal your brain receives that it's still midday. It sounds minor. Over time, it is anything but. We're about halfway through, and what's coming next is honestly the part most people never hear. Most doctors don't bring it up unless you specifically ask. The fourth mistake is the one I mentioned at the start, the one people do specifically because they think it helps. It's having a drink in the evening to wind down. A glass of wine with dinner, or one before bed to take the edge off the day. It works, in a sense. Alcohol does help you fall asleep faster. That part is real. Here's what's catching people. Alcohol fundamentally disrupts the second half of your sleep cycle. As your body metabolizes it, usually 3 to 4 hours after you drink, it triggers a rebound effect that pulls you out of deep sleep and into light, fragmented wakefulness. That 2 or 3 in the morning waking that feels so mysterious, for a significant number of people over 50, alcohol is the direct cause. And because the drink happened hours earlier, the connection never gets made. After 50, your liver also processes alcohol more slowly than it did at 35, which means the metabolic disruption lasts longer and lands deeper in the night. This is not about drinking or not drinking. It's about understanding that what felt like a wind-down ritual is quietly working against the very thing you're trying to get. If you've ever noticed that your worst nights of sleep tend to follow evenings when you had a glass or two, that's not a coincidence. That's your body telling you something worth listening to. And the fifth mistake connects back to everything we've talked about so far, because it's not a food, it's not a drink, and it happens before any of this does. The fifth mistake is the one with the longest reach. It's not having a consistent wind-down window before bed. Most people go from fully active, screens, conversations, problem-solving, planning, to lying in the dark expecting sleep to arrive on demand. And at 35, the body was resilient enough to make that transition quickly. After 50, the nervous system needs more time to shift from alert to calm. The stress hormone, cortisol, which keeps you focused and functional during the day, takes longer to clear after 50. If you're mentally active right up until the moment your head hits the pillow, cortisol is still elevated when your brain is trying to initiate sleep. The result is that familiar experience of lying there with a busy mind, thoughts cycling, a low-level alertness that won't quit, even when you're genuinely exhausted. A 30-minute wind-down window, consistent, quiet, low-lit, is not a luxury habit. After 50, it's closer to a biological requirement. Reading something undemanding, gentle movement, or simply sitting without a screen in a dimly lit room gives your nervous system the runway it needs to actually land. The mistake most people make is thinking they can think their way into sleep, mentally reviewing the day, planning tomorrow, trying to solve something before they close their eyes. That's the opposite of what the brain needs. The wind-down window isn't about doing something special, it's about doing less deliberately at the right time. This isn't just about feeling tired, it's about how your heart is functioning while you sleep, how your brain is clearing the metabolic waste that accumulates during the day, how your blood sugar is regulating overnight. Sleep after 50 is doing more maintenance work than most people realize, and when it's disrupted, that work doesn't get done. Not tonight, not tomorrow night, but over months and years, the gap between the sleep you're getting and the sleep your body needs starts to show up in ways that feel unrelated. Energy, mood, memory, weight, immune function. One disrupted night is nothing. The same pattern repeated for years is a different conversation entirely. You know the 5 mistakes now. Late dinners, inconsistent wake times, bright evening lighting,
alcohol as a wind-down, and no transition window before bed. None of them require a prescription, a supplement, or a complete overhaul of your life. They require awareness and one or two small shifts made consistently. Start with whichever one you recognized most in yourself tonight. Just one, that's enough to begin. Small changes made consistently are what actually move the needle, and now you know exactly where to start. If this was useful, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if someone you know is lying awake at 3 in the morning telling themselves it's just age, share this with them. It might be the most useful thing they see this week.